Hi there, friends. I'm Vasco. I'm part of the team behind the first global Scrum Master Summit. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is a place to learn, to share, and to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from all over the globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit and the numeral 21. That's bit.ly/SMSUMMIT21. We have 7 amazing keynotes or more, as we are still organizing the conference as I record this, and 8 tracks that feature people like you and thought leaders sharing their insights and knowledge to help you become an awesome Scrum Master. So once again, check it out at bit.ly/SM Summit 21. That's all lowercase, all one word, SM Summit and the numeral 21. I'll see you on the virtual conference floor. All right, now on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Serge Huybrechts. Hi, Serge. Welcome back.
Hi, Vasco. Again, very glad to be here.
So, Serge, on Tuesdays, we dive into teams and how sometimes they become their own worst enemies. We do want you to tell us a story of a team, a little bit about their, context and so on, and what was that behavior or pattern that developed over time, so that we may learn from that. But as we usually do, before we jump into the team question, we also want to know what was potentially the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master?
I think, this is such a hard question, Vasco, because I read a lot of books, and I think to some extent they all influence me. But the question is, which one did most? I reflected on this. I came down to 5, and then I trimmed it to 3, and I'm still not sure. But it's. I think I just, if I look back to last year, what I read in 2020, I think the book Dare to Lead from Brené Brown influenced me most, and that's as a Scrum Master as well as personally.
So can you say the name of the book again?
Yes, Dare to Lead.
Dare to Lead, and it was Brené Brown, right?
Brené Brown. Yes.
Brené Brown, all right. What was it in that book that, you go back and you think maybe there was a few, but that one kind of, edges a little bit above the others? What was it that you got out of that book?
Like the title says, it's about leadership, but especially about showing yourself as a vulnerable leader, as an empathic leader, as a curious leader. Also, like starting with the idea that everything that happens around you is with positive intent, and this changes dynamics when you interact with people, and so for that, this stood out for me. It brought a lot of stuff together in being a human leader, basically, and that's I think what influenced me most last year.
If you would have to say for a Scrum Master, like one big takeaway from that book, what would that be?
Be curious and show empathy. Like if something happens, ask about it. Ask how this felt for the person, what happened, what's the way that person looks at the situation. So don't bring your own observation straight away, or bring your observation, but complement that with how the person you're talking to sees that. So the empathy, curiosity thing, I think that's a really big takeaway for Scrum Masters.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we often talk about here on the show is that a lot of our work happens through others, right? We succeed, and we'll talk about it again on Thursday, but we succeed through others. Like we never succeed alone. Scrum Masters never succeed alone. And for me, one of the key things is that as Scrum Masters, we need to make sure that it is the people we work with that are doing the reflection. It is them who are making the decisions. And of course, we try to shepherd the conversation. We try to bring the topic back to, whatever the core issue is that we are tackling. We try to get people to talk to each other. But it is always them who do the thinking, who do the deciding, and who do the acting. So I think that's an awesome takeaway, and definitely a great reason to read that book, because that really our work is most of the time exactly that, right? So be curious, ask questions so that you help others reflect, so that you help others decide, so that you help others act.
Absolutely.
That was definitely a great recommendation. By the way, is there some other book that you are itching to share with our community?
Yes, I would say it's actually a book in Dutch, but it's been translated in English. It's called Humankind, A Hopeful History by Rutger Bregman, who's a Dutch journalist. And the core message behind it is that almost everyone has positive intentions. And he went to look around the world for stories that prove that. And I think it was brilliant. So if you want to read a book, Humankind, A Hopeful History by Rutger Bregman.
Absolutely. Great. I think also important for Scrum Masters, because sometimes we, especially very experienced Scrum Masters who have gone through a lot of stories and, faced a lot of problems, they can see the problems happening in front of them. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. But if we go back to that idea, like the title of that book, right? A Hopeful History, it's like, understand that people are doing whatever they are doing with the right intentions. So don't judge, just help them, recover, because sometimes you can't stop the train wreck.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I think that if you look at that with the glasses of good intentions, it changes your view, but also the dynamics of interaction with those people.
Yeah, and that's very true, right? By changing the dynamics, we are actually creating potentially the environment that helps people recover quickly when something goes wrong.
Yes, very true.
So next is the team. So share that team story with us, Serge.
Yeah, the story goes back about 6-7 years ago, I guess. So I worked with a team with a lot of young people, mainly like 25, 26 on average age. Young, clever people, very motivated and working very hard. And they got a new manager who was actually the one who hired me. And he was this, what I would call a master firefighter. Like for him, it was always like jumping on what seemed to be the biggest fire, and he made a lot of noise about it. And what actually happened is that with him coming and kind of creating that atmosphere, that those team members, they started copying that behavior. Because the story I make out of it is that they figured out that this was the way to get forward in the organization or to get on a good page with their new manager. And it started a downward spiral for the team because they kind of got into a competition mode to be the loudest firefighters, like to feel the most important firefighter and get that recognition from their manager. And like within a few weeks' time, the dynamics completely changed, and it led to these what I would call dirty politics and kind of backstabbing, like telling on each other. And from this, like the collaboration completely deteriorated, and that showed again in the quality of their work, because it started just going down because everybody started to be on their island. Nobody trusted each other anymore. And the crazy thing is, it went so fast. It was like in 2 or 3 weeks' time, they went from this enthusiastic bunch of people who trusted each other into this, island of distrust.
This reminds me of a phrase. I don't know if I heard it somewhere, but it goes like this: for a firefighter to be a hero, you also need a pyromaniac. And the reason why I bring that phrase is that the type of behavior that leaders show creates a mirror image somewhere in the organization, right? Like it immediately influences the environment because they are leaders. They have that power, even though they might not be aware of it. And for somebody to be a hero because they're firefighting, somebody needs to be starting fires all the time. And this does not to be it. They don't need to be real fires. They can be imagined fires, fake fires, if you will. But there's that need. And what I hear from you, and this is my interpretation, I might be totally wrong here, but what I hear from you is that the team understood implicitly, maybe even subconsciously, that not only did they need to fight fires, but they needed fires to fight. And because of that, the way they interacted started to, perhaps you said quite quickly, but 2 weeks is a lot of interactions, started to degenerate into fire creation so that we could firefight. Like, this is how I see the story from an outsider's perspective that wasn't there. But how do you see it, Serge?
I actually love that view. I love that sentence as well, and I'm gonna try to remember it forever, because I think we will meet contexts where this is true again as a Scrum Master. No, I think it's true. If I reflect on what you just said, Vasco, if you look back at the team, I'm not saying that they created those fires, but they went looking for them. They looked for fires to be loud about, and to say like, hey, here's this fire, and I've solved it. So yeah, to an extent, absolutely true what you say. Interesting thought.
So if you could go back in time, and let's say that you had magic powers to actually solve this, which is, some dynamics you can't stop, by the way, and it's okay. It's okay to accept that. But if you could go back in time and try something, let's say that you imagine that would really succeed, maybe something you've tried later on in your career and it helped you. Like, what would you try in that situation?
I would try to talk to the manager about this firefighting culture vibe he created, because to an extent he was the root cause of it, without saying you are the root cause. But if I had a magic wand, that conversation would just solve that already. And I think I would be more open with the team about it, and that's what I definitely do today. If I make observations, I try to bring them openly to the table. Or try, like, findings from those observations or behavior that causes some kind of result or negative result, I would try to bring that to the table and openly have the conversation with the team about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't, thinking about that kind of system dynamics that is happening there, we might not even be able to solve it at all. But by trying to make it a deliberate conversation, just like you suggested, we are at least giving people the opportunity to step back from that dynamic and recognize that they may want to change it when they think about it.
Yeah, totally agree. And what you just said actually happened. I tried to talk to the manager about it, but he wouldn't have it. He literally said, "I love to be in this role, and I'm not going to change that." And I kind of talked to the team about it, maybe not enough, but in the end, I wasn't able to solve the dynamic, because it just continued happening, basically.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things as Scrum Masters, we need to be humble about this dynamic. Sometimes these dynamics have a power of their own. They generate their own energy, and they continue to grow and grow and grow. And at some point, we might just decide, look, I'm not going to do anything about it. I'll move on and concentrate on something else.
Absolutely true. It's one of the hard learnings for me as well, is to accept the situation for what it is, and to either try to continue to build on it and do the best you can, or like you say, I literally move away from it.
Absolutely. That's a great phrase. Accept the situation for what it is when we can't change it. Absolutely. All right, Serge, that was a great story. Thank you for sharing it.
Very much welcome, Wolfgang.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.